Update. Am I the a-hole for beating my parents to the chase and moving out in the middle of the night? Original post. I, 18 female, overheard conversations between my mom and dad, 39 female and 40 male, about how they plan to kick me out shortly after my 18th birthday. The way they were talking made it seem like they were dead serious, and the fact that it was brought up multiple times made it seem like they were definitely going to go through with it. So I decided I wouldn't give them the chance to kick me out. I made plans with my friend Riley, 17 female, to stay at her place until I graduated and moved into a college dorm or had an apartment of my own. Riley's parents were horrified at the thought that my parents would kick me out the second I turned 18, and they agreed to let me stay with them as long as I finished high school. Riley, her parents, and my boyfriend Cole, 18 male, came after midnight to help me take my belongings to their car and drive me to Riley's house. My parents woke up in the middle of this and asked me what the hell was going on. I kind of shrugged and told them I was moving out before they could kick me out. My parents tried to deny it and attempted to stop me from leaving, but there was nothing they could do since I'm a legal adult. By the way, I wasn't just going to leave in the middle of the night without saying goodbye. I left a note on the kitchen table, where my mom always goes first thing in the morning, explaining what happened. Right now I'm at Riley's house, staying in their spare bedroom, and I've been bombarded with calls from my parents asking me to come back and not to tell my grandparents about any of this. In one text, my mom called me an ungrateful bee for leaving in the middle of the night and said she should have kicked me out sooner. Now for the top comments before reading the update. My mom called me an ungrateful bee for leaving in the middle of the night, and that she should have kicked me out sooner. Well, there's your hardcore proof. Calls from my parents asking me to come back and not to tell my grandparents about this. Are you close to your grandparents? Do you think they'd want to know? If so, you've got quite the collection of texts to show them. Not the a-hole. Yup, Mom confirmed their plans for OP. I don't get the whole kick them out at 18 mentality. It's hard out there right now. More than that, if OP is still in school, let them finish and give them a chance to get things lined up instead of just kicking them out. I plan to have my kids move out after 18 only if they're clearly not trying, like if they're just mooching. If they're in school or actively working, saving for their future, and contributing around the house, that's all I care about. And honestly, I'd be working hard to prepare them well before they turn 18 to avoid the whole mooching scenario in the first place. These parents sound awful. Not the a-hole. If it was one conversation that you overheard, I'd say you overreacted. But since it was several times and no note of sarcasm or joking, then you did right. Also, your mom saying she should have kicked you out sooner is pretty clear. The fact that they don't want your grandparents to know also shows they know it's wrong. You don't mention any reasons why they would want to kick you out. Have you been in trouble? Do they dislike your boyfriend? Bad grades? I remember from a few conversations, two unrelated to kicking me out about my mom wanting an office, and I haven't in big trouble like getting trouble with the laws. Grades are pretty good, and they've so far expressed approval about Cole. Since your dumb mom insulted you, but is terrified of your grandparents, reach out to them and tell them everything. Yes, and bring Riley and her parents. OP, sometimes older people respect older people over younger people. I suggest talking to Riley's parents and asking them to accompany you to your grandparents' house, or phone call if they are far away. Don't say anything about respect, because that's just my fear, and might not be true for them at all. Ask them to be there for emotional support. Additionally, they act as witnesses. If your grandparents are great, then that's great, and you have another resource. If they are awful, then at least Riley's parents will see firsthand how awful your family is. Now for the update. I honestly forgot about this account and struggled to remember the password, but here we go. A lot of shocking information was revealed, and this is just my brief, messy account of it. So, like you all suggested I do, I told my grandparents what happened with screenshots of my parents' texts after I went to Riley's house. Let me tell you that they were livid at what my parents were saying to me and the fact they were planning to kick me out. I ended up meeting up with them and staying with them at their place for a few days while they tried to figure out what the heck was going on with my parents. My mom and dad were being sent money monthly by my grandma and grandpa for my college fund, since they mostly depleted it after my brother Alex moved out, because he was tired of them begging him for money due to their gambling addictions. My mom admitted that their plan was to kick me out, but act like I moved out willingly because I found an apartment and get double the money that they were previously getting to help out with my rent money once they asked my grandparents for it. Grandma yelled at my mom over the phone and told her that she'd never see a dime of her money again. She told my mom that she would rewrite her will so that the money my mom would have gotten would go to me, which my mom freaked out at. My dad blew up my phone one more time before I blocked both him and my mom's numbers for good, calling me an evil C-word and telling me that he wished my mom aborted me. So yeah, I talked with my brother, Alex, and the only thing he really had to say, or ask, I guess, was why our parents' scummy behavior hadn't been called out when they were trying to legitimately steal his paychecks to go gamble. I'm sorry if this is kinda rambly, but this was the best I could do at the moment. Thank you all for your advice. And I'll maybe give another update if anything else happens, but I doubt it will. Poor OP. I wish her brother warned when he moved out, but it probably happened when she was too young to do anything. Now, as an adult, she can escape. I think he's probably upset the grandparents didn't do for him what they are for OP. Often when you're in situations like this, the abusers make you think, in subtle ways, that no one in the family is on your side. You end up believing that everyone knows and no one cares. And so, keeping quiet and disappearing feels like the only way to stay safe from further bullying or manipulation. At this point, I think that if you drain a kid's college fund, especially one that, from the sound of it, was contributed to by others, to fund your addictions, it should be straight to prison. I don't care if it's your right. Be a good parent in at least that one way, because if you're doing that, you're guaranteed to be screwing up other ways too. As soon as they said, don't tell your grandparents, I was like, drug addicts. Nope, gambling. What an unrefreshing surprise. Gambling addicts are the absolute freaking worst. The trail of destruction they leave is incredible. I think that gambling and food addictions are the most insidious and in some ways hardest to break. Apart from chemical dependency, no one needs alcohol or cocaine or heroin. Once a person claws their way to sobriety, no mean feat to be sure, they can structure their lives in such a way that they don't have to encounter alcohol or drugs every single day. But gambling addictions are not like that. You have to have money to get by. There is no money-free option to life, so the thing that you need for your addiction is also the thing you need to keep a roof over your head. Same with food. You obviously can't cut food out of your life. In both cases, the person needs to achieve a level of self-control that gives them access to the thing they're addicted to, but that doesn't enable their destructive tendencies. Next story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my siblings for forgiving our mother for abusing me? I, 29 male, have a younger brother, 25, and younger sister, 24. When we were kids, our dad died. I'm the only one who remembers him. I also happen to look like him, and I think that's why, when our mother turned violent, she only directed it toward me. I was 8 when my mother started physically abusing me, but the verbal abuse had already been happening for about a year. She would scream at me to stop being so useless, or worthless. Which word she used depended on the day. She called me retarded and would threaten to whip me just for looking at her. Then she became physically violent. She would punch me, slap me, burn me with cigarettes, stab me with her fork, just all kinds of things. A few times, she just beat the crap out of me while screaming the whole time. My siblings knew it was happening, but she left them alone and focused all her rage on me. That's why I believe looking like my dad made me a target. She would just fly into these uncontrollable rages around me. When I turned 18, I moved out, and my siblings moved out with me. I had already been taking care of them for 3 years at that point. Our mother had stopped caring for them, so I stepped up. They lived with me and my now wife until a couple of years ago. They stayed through college, and I did my best to support them. So, when they told me they were back in touch with our mother, it stung. But I knew they were adults who could make their own choices, and it didn't have anything to do with me. I just asked them not to tell me anything about her. I didn't want to hear how she was doing or what was going on in her life. They seemed to respect that at first, but then they wanted us all to have dinner together, and they started talking about her meeting my unborn child. I had to remind them that I was not going to have a relationship with her, and I told them she had some nerve expecting to be in my life, let alone my child's. That's when they told me they had forgiven her for everything and had reassured her that it was all okay, that there was no bad blood. I asked them if that included forgiving her for abusing me. They flinched when I said it, but then replied, "Of course." They said she apologized and that she's grown and healed a lot. I asked them what gave them the right to forgive her for what she did to me. They said she needed forgiveness. I told them I didn't want her sleeping peacefully at night after what she did. I wanted her to feel bad, if she was even capable of feeling bad. They told me that was an awful thing to say, because of course she was capable of human emotions, and that I didn't have the right to be mad at them. I told them I couldn't even look at them knowing they thought they had the right to forgive her for my trauma. Forgiving her for not being the best mother to them is one thing, but they weren't the ones who were physically and verbally abused every day. They said they had to do it, and that I needed to understand. I made them leave. I told them if they ever asked if she could visit or see me, I would be done with them. After that, I cooled off for a few weeks and focused on my wife and our unborn child. Then I reached out again, hoping to talk it through, but they still insisted they had the right to forgive her for what she did to me. And they acted like I was the one making a big deal out of it. That made me even angrier. I told them they were old enough to make their own choices. But I was done. I told them I would not be part of their lives anymore, and I would not allow them to bring that monster into my life or my child's life. I told them she did not deserve forgiveness for what she did to me. They didn't expect it. They sent texts, DMs, and called a few times before I blocked them on everything. My wife did the same so they couldn't reach me through her either. In their messages, they said it wasn't fair and that they had the right to forgive her, and that I shouldn't cut them off because of it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Oh, hell no. And good for you for cutting them off too. Totally right thing to do. Sorry you had to go through this. I have never heard of forgiveness by proxy before. The situation astounds me, and I would really like to sit down with them and hear their thought process. You know, they say forgiveness is a gift, but in your case, it sounds more like a gift receipt for something you never wanted in the first place. A refund is definitely in order. It's like someone handed over a life lesson wrapped in guilt and said, "You're welcome." Sometimes forgiveness feels less like healing and more like returning emotional baggage you never signed up for. Yeah, and forced forgiveness, or having someone forgiven on your behalf, isn't real forgiveness. It's not truly coming from the person who's in the position to forgive. They have their own stuff to forgive her for, without doing it for me too. Last story. Am I the a-hole for rehoming my cousin's pet after she left her with me for over a month when she said it would only be a week? This has been eating at me, and I genuinely want to know if I went too far. A few months ago, my cousin Lila, 26, asked me, 29, for a huge favor. She was going out of town for a week and needed someone to watch her cat, Luna. I've had pets my whole life. I work from home, and I live alone in a pet-friendly place. So it wasn't a huge ask at the time. I agreed under the condition that it would be just for the 1 week she mentioned. Luna is a sweet cat, but she came with a lot of issues. She was under-socialized, anxious, and not properly litter-trained. I spent the whole week deep cleaning after accidents, trying to coax her into eating, and dealing with random 3 a.m. yowling. Not the worst, but definitely more than I expected. Still, I kept reminding myself, it's just a week. Well, that week came and went, and then another, and then another. Lila kept giving me excuses. First, it was that her flight got delayed. Then she was having a really hard time and needed more time. Then she claimed her apartment wasn't allowing pets anymore and she was working on it. I asked for a timeline. She said soon. After 4 full weeks with no concrete plan, I told her I couldn't keep Luna much longer. I wasn't prepared to be a full-time pet owner again, and my lease technically allows pets temporarily, not long-term. I gave her a week's notice that I would need her to come get Luna, or find another arrangement. She ghosted me for 3 more days. At that point, I started asking around, and a friend of mine, who's been looking to adopt a cat, offered to take Luna in. She's incredibly responsible, has a calm home, no other pets, and honestly, it's the best situation Luna could have asked for. I made the decision and let her go to this new home. I texted Lila with the update, and then she blew up my phone. She accused me of stealing and giving away her child, and said I had no right. She posted on Facebook about how I betrayed family and made herself out to be a victim of some heartless scheme. Several relatives are now saying I should have just waited a little longer or kept her in the family. I feel torn. On one hand, I did give away someone else's pet. On the other, she abandoned her with me for over a month with no clear plan and barely any communication. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I just didn't want to be taken advantage of anymore, and I wanted Luna to have stability. So, am I the a-hole for rehoming my cousin's pet after she left her with me for over a month with no plan to take her back? I would just comment on all her Facebook posts with screenshots of you repeatedly telling her to pick it up. Nothing else, just the screenshots, not the a-hole. I'm actually really motivated to make a post like this tonight. Make sure you mention that the cat was abandoned and you found her a responsible, caring, permanent home. If your cousin had abandoned the cat with someone else, they would likely have surrendered the cat to a shelter, which may have killed the cat, so you're basically an angel. If it was her baby, this was child abandonment. Going back to that house with all those issues was the wrong choice for the cat. You did the right thing. You even gave her warning. Exactly this. If it were a child, everyone would be outraged. You gave her a heads up and made the best call for the cat's safety. Not the a-hole at all.